Now Daniel's going to interpret the dream. Verse 19. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spoke and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, My lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. Now, actually, this to Daniel was a great shock and blow. Although he might have suspected something, but certainly now that Nebuchadnezzar's his friend, and he is the prime minister, the first dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, it dignified him. But this dream debases him. And it's so bad that Daniel is reluctant to reveal it to the king. And Daniel resists whatever temptation there may have been to withhold from Nebuchadnezzar the full story, for he now gives the entire account to the king. And by the way, that raises the question, should doctors give to their patients the truth in case of a fatal disease? Well, Daniel told all. And I believe that a doctor ought to tell his patient, I don't care who he is or what the circumstances are, what it is. If a man's getting ready to make the biggest step of his life, he ought to know it. That is, if somebody else knows it, the information should be given to him. Unfortunately, a great many people like for a doctor, to more or less butter them up, make them feel good. And a great many people probably need a little psychological treatment. A doctor friend of mine told me, he says, I've given out more sugar pills than any other kind of pills. He had a clientele of rich women. And he said about all they need is just be encouraged a little that they're well. And they are sick, but only in their head, of course. May I say to you, friends, Daniel's going to lay it on the line. Now, he does use a great deal of tact, I think, in approaching the problem. He tells Nebuchadnezzar first that the good in the dream is for the enemies of the king. Now, verse 20 of the 4th chapter of Daniel, and I'm reading. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. Now the tree represents Nebuchadnezzar. He has grown strong, he's become great, and he's a world ruler, and he's filled the then civilized world. And his dominion here, and Nebuchadnezzar personally, that is the picture that is before it.